how fast Gary will run. All right, welcome everyone. In our, I don't know, this is the first in a long time, so I don't know in the series where we are with the meetups, but this is kind of a new meetup because as you saw, we had a huge breaks between meetups, and this was the reason because the organization team kind of missed the time to organize everything that needed to be done to get to the point where we can do a meetup. So we have a new organizing team. So let me introduce David, sitting here, Gary, who hide behind that, I don't know what. And there, we have a third guy called Mark, who cannot be here, but he was very essential to organizing this meetup, and myself. So what changed is that we have now 4 organizers, so you can expect more regular meetups. We plan to have meetups almost every month or every 2 months, and I have more confidence this time that we can do that because we have more organizers. And another new thing is that we try to get speakers from abroad. So I'm very happy to announce that the next meetup will be in January, and Matt Ryer will come from England. You can know him from .go and another conference in England. He has some very interesting presentations, and the one which we will present probably is the idiomatic Go tricks, which was also presented in .go. And we are also trying to organize more presenters from abroad. Right now we have some bottlenecks. One is the finance, so it's financed by the organizers, but we always try to find sponsors. So if you want to know any company who's willing to sponsor the travel, and we're happy to accept that. We accept all kind of money, basically. But I can promise that we'll do our best to get good presenters. And in January we will have Matt Ryer. A few other things is that first of all we have live streaming or streaming, maybe it's live. But because we need the sound, if you have any questions, please get a mic and ask the question with a microphone. Or if you cannot get one, then the presenters please repeat the questions so the millions of viewers at home can hear what are the questions. Another utility info is that we have beer. So if you miss the beer, then we have some upstairs. And we have the toilet right here, and if it's full, which will probably be the men's toilet, then we have another one downstairs. Here. Here, downstairs here. Okay. And I hope I told you everything. So I'm very happy that you're all here. Have a good time. And the last, sorry? And the schedule, which is also important, as I'm told now. So we have two presentations. The first one is from Tamás Michalberger. It will be about the gRCP with Go and REST service, which you can see upstairs. I missed a few words.
It's a huge typo in the title. Yes. Yes, it is. First we say gRPC.
I totally don't see that, but I accept it. I believe you. And the other one will from Lajos, you know him. Actually, we have 2 presenters who have the second presentations from them in the history of the meetup. The last one will from Lajos, and he will talk about Kubernetes and Go. So thank you for being here. And with that, Tamás, thank you for coming to the meetup. Have a clap.
Hi everyone. Oh, is this okay? Hi everyone. So I'm Tamás, and I made a typo. So it happens. And I'm going to talk about gRPC and Go, obviously because we are at a Go meetup. But I could have talked about gRPC and Java because gRPC is multi-language, but that's fine. Like Go is one of the better ones. So interesting. Just a little bit technical problem. Whatever. I'm just gonna even more interesting. Okay. So the agenda today is that I'm going to introduce what gRPC is, what is it for, and then we are going to see some examples, how to use it, and how does it look like in code, and then I'm going to also introduce a gRPC gateway, which is a HTTP plus JSON proxy for gRPC, so you can expose your nice little binary services to the world. And at the very end, I'm going to share some insight of how we use gRPC at the secret sauce partners. So it's not a surprise, but gRPC is an RPC framework. RPC is like what we do every day basically, but like if you have ever worked with SOAP or WSDL, then you know that how it can be painful. Who did ever, I cannot speak English, sorry. So who has been working with SOAP or any, you know, it depends on, not many of you, so I guess you're lucky. So it's a remote procedure framework from Google. They grown it out of Stubby, which is their internal framework. They've been using it for like 10 years or something, and they build everything into it. But gRPC is not an open source version of Stubby. It's a ground up rebuild, but they say that it feels the same. And when you talk to ex-Googlers, they say that it kind of has the same abstractions and same interfaces. So it is the same, but it's built from the ground up. And it uses HTTP for transport, actually HTTP2. So it gives you a nice standard to work with. It has some caveats though. Like in HTTP2, there is a 31-bit integer to count streams. And if you go over it, then your connection is done. And because gRPC reuses connections, it's not like the regular HTTP 1.1 that you're used to. It reuses the same connection. You can actually hit this. So that's something to look out for. Fortunately, we never did that, so that's fine. Just, you know, deploy often, and then it never happens. And it uses protobuf for serialization. And protobuf is great because it provides you schemas and it's binary, so it's a lot faster than JSON. It's just all around great. I will show how protobuf works in this scenario. And gRPC also supports request response, which is the traditional way we do stuff. And then it also supports bidirectional streaming. So because it opens basically a TCP connection, and then it can talk, server can push and client can also push it. It's pretty good for like, I don't know, gaming stuff. So like updates. And gRPC is a polyglot framework, so it has libraries in multiple languages. We are going to talk about Go, but it has Python, Java, Ruby, I don't know what else. Like most of the popular languages that you bump into has a gRPC implementation. Okay, so why choose gRPC? Why not just do HTTP and JSON and REST and all that fancy stuff that you have been doing for the last like 5 years? And if the only thing is that it's schemas, it's like we have burned ourselves too many times with JSON. So having schemas everywhere is a bit of a revelation. You cannot really push anything to the server that it will not, like it cannot deserialize. So it's pretty nice. So schemas and then performance. I just put a link in it. I didn't think it through, but I will post the slides so you can check it out. But the latency and then the overhead that the library puts on top of like basically on top of nothing is like a few hundred microseconds. So it's free to make an RPC call. It's basically free, which you don't have to think about like, do I want to batch all this or just do an RPC call? You know, it's pretty liberating. And it also has because there is a protobuf comes with a definition language, which is language agnostic. It is the source for every language basically. So you can generate your own clients for free. It's there from the very beginning, so you don't have to like come up with the your RESTful routes and then create an HTTP client or use some very convoluted library to do RESTful stuff. And it also has a rapidly growing ecosystem. Yeah, I'm just reading out slides, not a good strategy, sorry. And yeah, that's a built-in load balancing. Actually, it has like multiple strategies that you can use. Like when you do regular HTTP, you just put an Nginx in front of it and it's done. You don't have to think about it. But with HTTP2 and persistent connections, that's not really how you do it. For example, Nginx is that they just refuse to implement HTTP2. So you cannot use that, but there is another one called traffic that you can use, and it works out of the box. But you can use a proxy or you can use client-side load balancing. So you can just set up your library and then it connects to multiple servers and just round robins between those. So that's pretty easy. That's actually what we do. We offload the name resolution to Kubernetes, and our libraries are just using all the pods that are available. It's actually pretty easy and works out quite great. And then the last one is tracing, and there is built-in tracing in it. I think it's not fleshed out completely, so the tooling is not there yet, but they are working on it, and it's on their priority list. So that's a great one to have. Yeah, I already talked about that. Okay, so I wrote a simple service. It's a weather service. It doesn't have any actual backend. It just hard-coded data. So I'm gonna lie about the weather. And this is how you define a service. Basically, in your proto files, you just state that you want a service, and then it has an RPC endpoint, and you just say what's the input and what's the output. There is no void output, so you have to have always something. Like you have to return something all the time, but there are like empty responses, so it's manageable. And then a message looks like this. So you have types, and then you can use other types. Like the date type is an imported one. So Google has a lot of predefined types that they published in various Git repos, and then you just pull it in, and then you can use it. You don't have to define your own. And another nicety is the enumerated values. It's pretty nice to have this. We always had this. We use strings, and then they could go haywire, or you can just push something to the server that is not in the set. But here you have guarantees that what you defined that's going to be in the message. Okay, so now it's the demo time. So let's hope it works. I have this project set up, and it's a simple Go project. I have the proto definition here. It's what you saw already, and then I have a server. Actually, this is what was generated. So it's pretty readable Go code. It's not. I wouldn't say it's idiomatic, but it's pretty readable. And then ours. Okay, I'm lost in the code, but there is an interface that we have to somewhere down here, I guess. Yep, I just found it. So this is basically it. It generates an interface for you that you have to implement, and then just pass it to the service, and you're done. So how it looks like in code is pretty much it. So you create a new gRPC server. You can set it up however you want. Register your service, and then just wait for exit, basically. And our service is pretty dumb, so it really is just it spits back some hard-coded data. And I think I can demo this. Oh yeah, so now the server is running, but we cannot just really, issue an HTTP request and get back a result. We need a client, and we also have a client. I prepared one. It's also pretty simple. It's, as I said, that you have the pre-generated one that the library did for you, and you just create a new one, and then use contexts everywhere, and it's the same function that you define. So it's pretty easy to connect what's on the server and what's on the client. So it's not, it's so it's pretty easy to connect. There is no disconnect like in HTTP. So for me, especially, then I'm looking at a route and then where does this lead? But here it's pretty clear. Okay, so ooh. Okay, so I didn't put a city in, so that's it basically. Like that's what a client can do, and then if you put a city in which is not supported, then it comes back with a structured error, which is basically a code that's gRPC specific, and then a description. Okay. So how to actually use this from the outside? gRPC cannot be used from the browser. It's browser support for HTTP2 is getting there, but it's not there yet. And then gRPC is using protobuf, so that's also not easy to do in JavaScript. It's not impossible. There is a project that basically re-implements the whole thing in TypeScript, and then you can use it directly from the browser. But I think it's just easier to have a proxy and then stick to your old tools in the browser. And then if you expose your API, it also comes handy. So for third parties, it's easier to use your HTTP API. Okay, so this is the gRPC gateway. It works now, awesome. Which is just a proxy generator. It spits out a bunch of code again, and then you have to write some boilerplate around it to run it. But what it does is it takes your JSON input, turns it into protobuf, and then sends it to your server, and that's it. And then you can customize it. The defaults are pretty sane, so you don't really need to touch it if you're fine with it, but you can customize errors, you can customize what's returned, basically everything. Oh yeah. That's the again a link that you can click now. So how this works is that you extend your service definition with just a little bit of extra configuration. It's a protobuf extension, and you define that you want a get request, and then you want /v1/weather/city, and it matches city from the path to the request object that we saw earlier. And every other parameter is just a query string. So there was date, so you can do date.year, I guess, and then that will parse it and then set it as a gRPC or as a protobuf date. Yeah, so I have a demo for this as well. Okay, this was the code that. Yeah, so what I was talking about is that the city field here will be matched to the city field. Yeah, the city path segment will be matched to the city field of the request object. And then the generated file is also pretty simple. It's a bit longer than the other one, but as you can see here, this is how you do the request, and it just makes the request, and it matches. Yeah, here is that you register your pattern, and then it's a GET request. So it's like it's generating pre-readable code. So if you need to dig in, then it's not a problem. And then the gateway itself is also pretty easy to read. So you just set up, they call it runtime. It's highly confusing because there is a runtime package also and in the standard library. So it's pretty easy to miss, but I don't know, that's just a dumb decision. But you just create a servmux that's pretty much the same as which one in the HTTP package. And I specified an extra option. So I changed how it marshals JSON into, how it marshals protobuf into JSON. So it's going to be indented, and then it emits default values, which is pretty handy with enumerations, because the default value is 0. So your first enumeration will never make it to the response otherwise. And then you just set it up, and that's it. So if I run this, then I start the server and also start the gateway at the same time. So I now can just, I didn't prepare the curl request. Yeah, so there is nothing at the root, so that's obviously a 404. But if I do v1, then I get back a JSON response, basically the same as it's just the one-to-one mapping from my protobuf response. And if I do something that is not, so it maps gRPC errors to HTTP errors. It's actually pretty clever about it. So you don't have to set up much, but like, it doesn't map to 201. I don't know, it's strange that, it's not strange actually, but whatever. So that was the client and the demo. Okay. So how we use a gRPC at, oh, I made a typo again. Maybe I shouldn't edit my slides at like midnight or something. So I want to share how we do it and then what we learned. Overall, it was pretty great. But before I go to what was really great, I want to go through quickly on the bad parts. We use New Relic for monitoring and alerting and for basically everything. And New Relic support is lacking, to put it mildly. So you cannot really do much with gRPC. You can use it as a background job, but all the niceties of New Relic is really geared toward regular HTTP services. So that's a bummer for us. And then the profile management, that's a pretty, like, we haven't figured it out yet. We are vendoring at the moment. So every service has its own, and we put it in the repo just beside the service itself. But when another service needs to connect to that service, we need that file. So we are vendoring that in another repository. Or actually, we started using a slide version of a monorepo, so it's easier that way. But still, it's not ideal. But if you would do one central repository for your schemas or actually your protobuf files, then you would still need to issue 2 pull requests or change that 2 places, which is also not ideal. So sharing proto files is definitely a pain point. And curl does not work anymore. It really saddens me. I really love curl. And it just, you have to write your own little clients to connect to your services, or you have to run your own little gateways all the time, which is a minor inconvenience. Okay, but we also have good parts. It's not all bad. So Protobuf is basically self-documenting, especially if you actually put documentation in there. So it's pretty good to have your service description and the documentation at the same place. So if I need to look at what a service does, I just go into the file and then look at it, and it's easy to keep it up to date. So that's a big plus. And we started offloading all the cross-cutting concerns into the gRPC gateways that we manage. So there is this other way that you have a web front-end gateway or something like that. I don't know what it's called usually, but it's like a single reverse proxy that hides all your services behind it, and then it's a single point of failure basically. And you do everything there, like authorization, core support, whatever it is. And we have started distributing that among all the services. Everything is in Go, so sharing code is not a big pain point at this point. And we just do authorization and authentication and everything else in the service layer, and then in the proxy layer, and then the service doesn't have to deal with all these. And gRPC plays really well with Kubernetes. I already mentioned load balancing, but what we do is basically put the service itself and the proxy in the same pod. So you just deploy it together. It's really easy, and then you can just reach the service on localhost. It's that simple. So that was a huge plus. Load balancing I already mentioned, and that was it. Thank you very much.
Do we have questions? Oh. Hold on.
Thank you for that presentation. I had some questions about performance and memory footprint, especially in the Go version of gRPC. I've heard that the Go version had more was using more memory, wasn't using a lot of buffers, and that was like a year ago maybe. So I don't know if you know more about that, or
we started using gRPC like maybe half a year ago, so we might have skipped that already. We are using 1.5, I guess, and we never seen anything like if we have a service that does user identification, and it processes I don't know, a few thousand requests per minute, and there's nothing like, I never seen it go above 10 megabytes of memory usage. So it's pretty nice.
Cool. Yeah, I guess it depends on usage.
Anyone else?
Any other questions?
If not, then thank you very much. Sorry for being so clumsy.
Right, thank you. It was great. We have a 5 minutes break, and you can use that 5 minutes. We have a board here, and we try to get topics. And after the presentation, we'll have like 20 minutes, little groups, and we can talk about specific topics. And if you have any topic, we have 2 there. If you have any topic you want to talk about, then put your topic there, and we'll organize a few groups, and we can talk about it. We have beers and pizzas, so all we need is a few topics. So, and after now just 4 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll have Lajos with Kubernetes. And yeah, so see you back in 4 minutes.
természetes idén. De ott van, ezt hogy az volt. Ja.
PI fasiszta vagyok.
Ja, én is. Én is üvöltöztem. Tabukat használsz? Szerinted tabuk? Igen. Ez ugyanaz kell érni.
Annyi, hogy lett, ezért találtam egy koloszként. Azok tegek, ugye? Azt még nem is tudja vizsgálni.
De ez a Wimbo érzem. Ez a Wimbo, vérzetegeket, ezek nekem nem tegetni is.
Wimbo-t is igazán, és azt mondtam, hogy annyi szar nem benne, és azt mondtam, hogy akarok építeni egy olyan egyszerű dimes felületet, és konténerezett.
Jó, ez nem csak behúzod a dimercét.
Pontosan. És ez működik. Az is.
De miért nem működik egyébként a és a Wim folderről a másról? Nekem például olyan van.
Hát ugye azt te is tudod, hogy ez egy csomó van, bináris életgépben.
Ja, ez igaz. Soha nem cipeltem, de...
Igen, most mondta a Wimnek a dolgai bele vannak lógatva. Ez most a konténerben vagyok, és nem fájaz vagyok, és csak egy hiányom van, mert berángatom magammal ugyanazokat a...
Látom, nekem nincs például hozva importot.
Hogyne? Go import, tehát a Wimbo-t azt használom, de nem használom. Van a SPF13-nak a óriási package-zel bundlét használ, nem tudom, és akkora bloated, hogy nem bírom magammal hozni. Azzal is elvesztem, nem tudom hány napot, hogy utána értem, hogy a Wimnek a ilyen package manageré van, meg a Wimnek ilyen package manageré vannak, abban is van jelzem. De van a legkönnyebb, az a plug. Na, és azt csináltam, hogy most úgy néz ki, hogy a plugba nekem van körül 5 sor, behúzom azt a tárgyat, amit tényleg használom, Wimbo-t, Szíteget, FZF-et, meg ezt a polós sémát, hogy úgy nézem ki, hogy a vizsgálódózózék, és
az MCF az a fázisról.
itt meg kell tudjam, hogy hol van. Ugye ez az, amit egyébként itt a...
Ugyanilyen kontrollét használok, de...
Én benne vagyok, de ugye itt vagyok, de direkt sem, hogy egy állandóan, hogy be akarsz CD-zni abba a Go könyvben, ahol valamilyen kód van, és akkor figyelj, jön egy CDG, és akkor figyelj, itt elkezdeni írni pipeline, de nem az, hanem még az is legyen benne, és akkor...
És ez, mert van egy ilyen search path, hogy hol kell ezt fázi módon?
Vagy az FCF az alapból, hogy nem adod meg neki, az FCF az úgy működik, hogy van a standard input olvas egy listát, és abban fázi search. Ha nem adod meg, hogy mi legyen, akkor fájni a kimenetét, és akkor majd lesz a go list tripjeinél, ugye van egy ilyen, hogy azt mondja, hogy go list, akkor az a világ összesülője. De az lassú, de van írtak rá egy go package-et, ami ezt csinálja gyorsan, és annak a kimenet...
Most előved az adásról? Egyébként megmondom, ezt el akartam mondani. Bocsánat, megmondtam, hogy loptam tőled, mert láttam, hogy csinált az onlamzós go-s clientet.
Igen.
És kicsit ennek a mintájára megcsináltam a PAO-kládot, amit fölhúz egy streaming szerver, és igazából nem csak amit loptam, hogy ezt én nem használtam még a Logrus. És most megnéztem. Én most azt elég, csak kíváncsi voltam, mert structures
Milyen
team.
dolgot használja. No.
Igen. Ja.
Ó, megkezdtek a srácok. Tudod, hogy automatizálnak arra, hogy a cloud agnosztikusan felügyeltünk a Kubernetes cluster. Hát gyakorlatilag arra mindenki megcsinál, csak ne command line-ból, hanem legyen neked egy REST API, és akkor egy REST API, rákölsz valamit, és fölszállítod egy cluster. Amazonon.
Igen, mert én minden tizet használom.
És akkor akkor megint melyik akit használjuk. Na és akkor aztán bele
All right, so let's continue with Lajos. I asked what the name I should introduce, and it's just Lajos. So Lajos will talk about Go dependency hell, and we also have Kubernetes in this presentation. So I assume one of the main topics today is Kubernetes. Without further ado, let's have some great introduction to Lajos.
Okay, so hi everybody. Let's talk about Go and dependency hell, and I will just basically tell a long story about how we were running into issues and how we were trying to solve it. So that's the title of my presentation, and no one expects the Spanish Inquisition, and if you ever see one of my presentations, then you probably don't expect any slides. But surprise, surprise, there are some slides. So let's start at the very beginning and let's talk about what are packages. Has somebody a good definition about what a Golang package is? If you don't read the slide. Somebody has an explanation about what a Go package is? Are you guys coding in Go? Yeah?
I would say so. Unit of compilation can be a set of files, but it's one unit of compilation.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one unit. That's the main unit of the Go. So if you were previously using like Java or some other languages, in Java you also have packages, and we will see what are the huge differences. So as I stated here, it's one or more Go files in a directory. So actually that's a copy paste from the original documentation. So it's telling in a directory. But we are not referring to Go packages by directory. How do we refer them? When we want to say I need that package, I'm not telling a directory on my file system. How do I? Sorry? Yeah, and now we are running into, how can we identify a package? So let's play around a little bit. And I was writing an application. You can see it's fairly complicated. It's writing out some secret stuff, right? Okay, so I'm here. I can say go run, and it's running. Now, Go language has a lot of valuable tools inside of which is shipping with Go. One is the Go list. And And what goList does, if you don't say to it anything, it will write out what? What it is. Sorry? That's the current package. That's the name of the current package. Actually, no, it's not the name of the current package. It's the import path of the current package. So, and now we are running into small details, which now it seems like, yeah, why should we care about that one? But we will run into this stupid question later. So, of course, I didn't know about all these details like 1 month ago, and I had to learn a lot. So, with goList, if you don't give it any parameter, then the default parameter is dot. What is dot? Dot is the actual, what actual? Not the directory, actual, the actual package. So it's not a directory, it's the package. So I'm stating here package files, and I don't want to shame you. I was doing the same mistakes, and I had to learn. If you write like goList whatever, it won't be the directory, your package inside of this directory. What you have to write is /, which again seems like a directory, but it's not a directory, it's a package. And actually, so dot means the package where you are writing, and there is also a tricky package notation, which is dot, dot, dot. What does it mean? You can guess it's anything under the actual package. So if you say goList, then it's the same. Now if we are giving it to an additional parameter, and now you can see that goList knows quite a lot about your package. So look, what is the name of the package? Main. Okay, so the name of the package is main, and what is the import path? That's the import path. So the most important thing you have to know about your package is the import path, because that is what has to be like identical. Now, there are two main type of packages. If your package is a main, or if your package is not a main, what is the big difference?
Library or what?
Sorry?
It builds if you build a library or if you build an executable.
Exactly. So now if I'm doing a go build, now again, tricky question. What will happen if I do a go build, which is actually a go build dot? Sorry? And at the end, it will create an executable. What will be the name of the executable?
The package name.
Okay. So somebody is telling the directory name, somebody is telling the package name. So let's check it.
Oh no. It's with CLI.
So it's called CLI. So it's not the directory, it's not the package name. What it is?
The last path of the import.
The last part of the import path. And again, these are like, seems like stupid, unimportant things, but they are important. So, and actually this is just a convention, but it shouldn't be like that. And we will play with this one again. How about if I want to create an executable, but I want to call it not like a CLI, I want to call it, let's say, main. Yeah, you can define if you are not, if you want to have an alternative name, whatever, and then you have a whatever. But if you don't define, it's the last part of the import path. The same is true for libraries. Right now I don't have any library, but let's create one. And actually, I already did one. And this library is again very useful. It has one public method, secret, which is checked into the GitHub, as everybody does. It's a good practice. Okay, so now I would like to use this beautiful package. How can I import it? How can I identify this package? I need the import path. What is the import path? Somebody can say it loud, but it's like this. Actually, yeah, okay. Now I can do something like secret.secret. What will happen if I tell now go build? Yes?
It depends if you downloaded it or not.
Yeah. So if I'm just telling go build, then it will tell me that hey, it's missing. So that's the usual stuff. What do you do when a package is missing? You can do a go get. So what would you write?
Go get minus u.
Go get minus u, or actually you can just say go get. I think you can just say go get. And go get will realize that there are some missing stuff. How can it do? Like, so I just recreated the same situation. Again, how about the list? Look at this one. Oops. Go list, the simple go list command does quite a lot of things. Look, it discovers what are your import lines. So everything what in your package is imported, it's import. What are depths? How can you phrase what is the depths list? It's all your transitive dependencies which you need to be able to compile. And look, it doesn't stop there. It's telling you dependency errors. Wow. So even just a simple go list will tell you that what is missing, and it will tell even why is it missing and where is the source code which is referring to that one. So now you can see that it's very easy to create new tools based on built-in tools. So, for example, when I was first facing this type of issues, what happened is like, I was helping some guys which were writing some Kubernetes code. And they were running into a huge problem, and they were saying like, oh, look, we have this horrible problem. The Go compiler is writing some stupid shit. We cannot even understand it. And we were somehow gradually getting always our code getting to compile. We have a vendor directory where we were always changing by hand, and now suddenly it's not compiling. Can you help us? So what I said, like, okay, so first let's do it like, throw it away everything, and let's try to build up the dependencies by yourself. So what I was doing, gradually, deleting all the vendor folder, deleting everything from Go source path, and trying to get the correct version from each package. So what I was doing is, I was trying to write a shell script or a simple shell script which can help you to achieve that. And look, for example, what you would be able to do is like, I can list what are the missing dependencies. So And now if you see Go list, it's quite a long help. And you can see that the JSON is a very simple, it just prints you out a representation of the structure it has itself. But you can use the -f as an alternative formatting. And this is the same stuff like the good guys at Docker are doing with all the commands. Like if you are not happy with the output of a command, you can always format it if you give an alternative Go format string. Have you ever used the Go text package? How do you call it? Template package text. If you never used it, then don't be afraid and start to play with it, because what you can do is you can say, I want to have an alternative format about the package. And yeah, if you say like hello, then it will be printed out hello. And if you write everything into double curly braces, then you will get a list of Golang structures with all these fields. So look, how can I list all the things I imported myself? You can see that there is a, where is it? No, import class is something different. Yeah, imports. And depths. So I can say print out imports. Now you can see that this import is actually just a Go representation of the package. If you really want to tune the formatting, what you can do is there are some built-in functions, and one of them is, I think, is join. So I can tell join the imports or okay. So now I'm printing out all my imported. But of course, some of them are standard libraries, like the format. I'm not interested in the standard one. How can I filter them out? You can see that in the package, when you were telling Go list JSON, you were just seeing just a couple of information. But look, which one would you be able to use to figure out whether a package is built in or not built in? Standard. Yeah, what is it? Boolean standard. Okay, so let's do a small hack. And how about if I want to check all of the listed packages and print out only those which are not standard? Then I can execute this command and put it into Go list. Okay, because Go list can have a list of packages as an input. So now all I have to do is, what I'm doing is list, and I want to have a format where if and it's very easy. I can tell that, what was it? Standard. If standard, then I just print out okay. Okay, so it's standard, but I don't want to write out. I want to write out the not standard one, which is, I always get confused. How do you say not? Oh, maybe exclamation? No? maybe, yeah, I think it's if not. Yeah, exactly. And now I don't want to write out just a static text. I want to write out the import class. Okay. So this is just something you can start with. And actually, I was putting together quite a lot of okay. Which one? Yeah, missing dependencies. Oops. So look, here is one line of alias, bash alias, which you can use like figure out what are the missing dependencies. Okay, which is using nothing else, just the built-in Go tools and some bash magic. Okay, so now we know something about the Go get. One interesting fact, I was wondering like how Go get is working. So okay, Go get can figure out like, okay, this is a missing package, github.com/live/secret. Okay, so it's probably from GitHub and the version control is Git. How about everything else? What if you have your own domain name? Have you seen some other domain names? Yeah?
For instance, k8s.io.
Yeah, that was the first one I was wondering like, hey, but k8s.io, I have no idea. How can I figure out whether it's GitHub, Git or Bazaar or Subversion or whatsoever? How can you figure it out? Now it turned out that it's written in the Go specification. Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I wanted to show this one. Yeah. This is again the Go CD. And what is it? Go list ... What is ... As I said, ... is the sub package of anything. But what about if I'm not telling like Lajos/secret/ ... I'm just telling ... What is ... All the packages. What? The ... means all the packages. So if I'm telling like, hey, go list ... /secret. Okay, so it will find some of the secrets. So what you can do is, because I was finding myself a lot of time like I'm somewhere on my file system and I want to cd into one of the Go packages. And I was like, okay, cd/go/github/whatsoever, and I just wanted to have an easier way, and this is something which works. But the problem is, once you are having a lot of packages on your file system, that Go list ... is getting very slow. But there is a helper tool. Somebody was writing a better performing tool, of course, in Go, which lists you all the packages. I think it's called Go packages, which does the same thing, but very quick. So what I was doing for myself is a special CD Go, which is using FZF, which is a fuzzy finder, which reads from the standard input. And what it's doing, if I'm telling like secret, it's Again, not go get it. And it finds very quickly where I have to go. I think this one is not included in my slides, and I will go and insert that. So this was again something like you can create a lot of interesting tools around Go lists. Okay, and where were we? Okay, so now we have a package called secret. Now, what is the name of this package?
You have to look at what's the definition of package in the file.
Sorry?
You have to look at the file.
Good point. So now the definition is secret. And by chance, it's also in a directory called secret. But which one is the true? Sorry? Sorry?
It's mandatory.
Yeah, it's mandatory, but well, my question is, what happens if the two is not matching? Because, as I said earlier, it's a convention that you should name your package by the import path last part. So normally if I'm telling like, okay, go list about this package, then it will tell. The name is secret and import path is /secret. But what happens if I'm stupid enough to write here secret 2? Then you can see that the name is secret 2, but the import path is still /secret. So, why is it important? Normally you don't want to do it, but sometimes you can see when Go packages has the name go/ in their name. And still when you're importing it, you're not importing as go/ go dash. Or the same, like you can see, for example, with the YAML package or with the JSON, that there's a version number in the import path. But it's also again, so it don't have to match the package name and the last part of the import path. The definition package will be the name, but the import path is the directory where you are inside of Go. But of course, when you're changing it, it can break your code. So now if I'm trying to run, it will tell that it's important and not used. Because previously I was referring to the package like secret dot, and now I have to refer to it as secret 2 dot. So now we can turn back to the Kubernetes guys and ask that how does it work if you have an import path which doesn't start I had it somewhere. So look, there is in the Golang official documentation, it's listed what are the well-known import paths. Of course, GitHub, Launchpad, Bitbucket, and so on. But Kubernetes is not listed here. So what happens if you have a domain name which is not listed in the specification? So now what happens is you can check, like, if you put an extra v for get, because then it will be more verbose. So if you say, hey, kubernetes.io slash, let's say, helm, okay, so maybe it's already, I already got it down. Okay, maybe, yeah, okay. Okay. You can see that if you have a new environment, I was starting up a Docker container from the Golang 1.9 image, so it's empty, then look, it's doing an HTTP GET to where? Kubernetes.io slash helm go get equals 1. Aha, so that's the trick. When you do a go get for an unknown domain name, that the Go tool will do a curl, an HTTP GET to this URL. And what it is in it, what it's in it, let's check it. Kubernetes.io slash helm. And look, it's a specially crafted HTML with meta in the header. And look, what happens is that it's like two meta tags, go import and go source. So one is telling what is the import path, and the other is telling that it's a Git repository, so the version control system. So at that time I was like, why shouldn't I have my own package name? So I was trying to, okay, what should I use for a short name for my secret package? And I was telling like, let's use bit.ly. Because bit.ly is a short one. I don't have to type github.com/liar/secret. I just want to have bit.ly/secret. So what I did, go get bit.ly. Yeah. So, and look, it's able to download bit.ly/secret. Why? Because I was just creating a gist. That's again for free. And in the gist, I was just creating an HTML with the content pointing to my, so of course, that has nothing to do with the problem I was solving. And yeah, this is why normally it takes me probably like 2 times as much time to fix a problem like all the other guys. Because meanwhile, I start to play with this type of things. But meanwhile, I learn quite a lot, and I can later create a Golang talk or a Kubernetes talk or whatsoever. So basically, I'm just using the same time for, no, I'm just fucking around. Oh, it's recorded anyway. I never politically correct, so. It's again, nobody expects lawyers to be politically correct. Okay, so now, how much time do we have? Maybe I should quick up a little bit and cut off some of the ways I was still wasting a lot of time. So let me remember what was the problem. Yeah, okay. So in old days, all you had to do about if you needed your dependencies is go get. Because go list is able to figure out what is missing and then download it and compile it, and that's fine. But somehow, like a couple of years ago, it started like when vendoring came into the picture. It was like in Go 1.5, there was already built in the possibility that you can host yourself. Why is it important? Why? Because it happened a lot of times, like for example, how about if you have a very restrictive environment where you sometimes have internet, sometimes you don't have internet. You cannot rely on whether GitHub is available or not. You just want to have a tarball, pack it out, and be able to compile your Go code. Or sometimes it also happened that your code was compiling today, but tomorrow it won't compile because the stupid guy who was using his dependency just changed his mind and created a breaking change and pushed it to the master branch. And go-get is by default always getting the latest from the master branch. So you have a problem. So what they figured out at Go 1.5 that if you have a vendor directory, then it will be always taken into account. So if I would have in my CLI a vendor directory, then it will be used. Now, at the very beginning, it was like, okay, I just create a vendor directory, I push in some code, and so on. But later, tooling came around because you have to remember, like, okay, what time was I checking into my vendor directory, that specific dependency or the other one? And I probably want to update that dependency, but not the other one. At that time, there were a lot of tooling. And so look, now gives a list at awesome Go, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are more than 10 dependency managers. And of course, all of them is working in a different way. And they wanted to solve a problem in an easy way, and now it's getting even more confusing. So we can see the end of the tunnel because they already announced that the first one, the DAP, will be probably the official dependency manager in the next version of Go, or the next of the next one. But until that, you have a huge problem, because how can you vendor a dependency which is using also some dependency manager? Because it's always a big question. Okay, now I have a tool. I have a description. So most of them is like you have a YAML file, check into your source code, and the tool itself is able to create a vendor directory. Fine. But now the question is whether you check into your source code all the vendor files or only the description. Now, what advice is that if you have at least one file in the vendor directory, then vendor everything. Or don't vendor anything and have only the YAML files. But if you start to really vendor the file, then you have to vendor everything. Now the problem comes really big with Kubernetes, because in Kubernetes, there is quite a lot of dependencies of different packages. And I was trying to create a really small application where I can demonstrate the correct way of building up Kubernetes dependency graph. So what I was building is again a very complicated Go package with one file with some lines. It doesn't matter, it doesn't do anything. It just declares that it needs help, which is the Kubernetes package manager, in other terms of package management, but it's a different story. So, if you try to compile this code, you will get an interesting thing. I'm just using Play with Docker because now the Wi-Fi is quite weak here. If I wanted to download all the codes, it would take forever. So I'm just using an instance in Amazon or Azure. Maybe now it's Azure, I heard. So it's close to the Go packages. And you end up with 27,000 Go files just to compile 10 lines. It just doesn't feel right. So, again, the question is, how can you solve this type of... And the bad thing is that if I try to go build now, tries to do it, of course it takes forever. Actually, it's quite amazing that Go is able to compile 27,000 files in a couple of minutes. But yeah, so you get really stupid messages like cannot use a package name as the same package name, but inside of the vendor directory. Like, what? So the package, let's say, Lajos/secret, is not the same like vendor/Lajos/secret. What? So even to realize, like, what is the real problem, what happens is that most of the time, if you have a dependency, and the dependency it have another dependency, then most of the time under your vendor directory, there will be some other vendor directories. And maybe they have some other vendor directories. And, you know, it's like the usual endless recursivity. Now, Glide, one of the dependency manager, can handle that because you can say strip vendor, which means none of the vendor directories will have a vendor directory. So you will have a flat. But now the question is, what happens if I have dependency 1 and dependency 2? And dependency 1 wants to use Kubernetes 1.8 and the other one wants to use a different version. Or this one defines exactly that 1.8.0 and the other one just telling like, whatever you have. And this is exactly what happens here. So basically, you have to figure out from each package which version you need. You have to write it into the glide YAML file, and then stick to it. And now you will have still like 20,000 files, but there is also some other tools which can help you to reduce the number of vendor files. One of them is Glide, which actually it's like telling like, I'm deprecated, please use DEP, which will be the official dependency manager. But unfortunately, DEP has a couple of open GitHub issues which are about that it's not able to handle Kubernetes dependency hell. So right now your only bet is to use Glide. If you have Kubernetes as a dependency, use Glide. Or yeah, that was my solution. This was the only solution I was able to get. And there's a Glide has a plugin mechanism where you can create sort of like hooks, how to handle missing dependencies or existing dependencies. And one of the Glide plugins called Glide VC, which is not the water closet, but it's the vendor clean, which is able to delete all the files and packages which are not really needed for compiling. So getting the long story short, I was able to get it right, and what happened is, oops. Nice. Okay, vendor with Glide, and at the end, I was able to delete 22,000 files and delete 8 million lines of code. And now you have something which compiles with Kubernetes and Helm. So the takeaway from my presentation is don't use Kubernetes at all. It's a piece of shit. Yes, it's recorded. It's a piece of shit. If you do, then try to use Glide and have a lot of coffee ready until you find your solution. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? If you have, then yeah, you can ask one.
Yeah. So yeah, if you don't have any questions, then probably because we are a bit over reached our time, we'll do the talking in Opazuka, which is the pub downstairs. So if you want to come along, which I wholeheartedly encourage you to come with us, then we'll do the talking, the group talking there. But the presentation part is over, and if you don't come with us, then I would like to thank you for coming to the meetup. I hope you heard some useful information, and we also know what Lajos thinks about Kubernetes also. And I hope I will see you next time in January. So thank you for coming.
Oh yeah, speakers.
Excellent.